I'm not sure why the moving averages aren't working, but all right, let's go ahead and get started. Sia coin, I've never charted it. Can anyone give me what symbol that is?
SC.
What is it?
SC.
SC, yeah.
Thank you.
I just didn't figure out about it until like the other day.
Yeah, it looks like a 1, 2, 3. That might even be a 5-wave move there. What are we on here? 1 hour. Oh, I need to zoom out here. All right, I remember looking at this one last night, I believe. It is interesting. It's weird how it, sold off so hard over here. Oh wait, is this on Hike and Ashy? Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I was wondering why I was having problems.
Yeah, if you go to the Hike and Ashy, you drop down at the top. You can, yeah, just a little downward arrow there. No, I don't know why it's not working.
I got it. That's it.
All right, cool.
This could be a cup and handle pattern. It definitely is interesting. Normally, I don't like it when, you have this little impulse move. You got good volume here. The return wave is a little farther than I'd like. I mean, this could be a double bottom. It is interesting. What if maybe this is a 1, 2, 3, 4? I mean, it's not uncommon for a 4 to come down that low, but I guess that works. I mean, we've got the MACD cross here. We've got the squeeze coming up. Volume's coming back in. It's a little sloppy, but that's not terrible. I've seen worse. So we'll go ahead and call that a 1, 2, 3, 4, entering in a 5th wave on the weekly. And I can get your 5th wave projection. Let's try that.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into the project of it.
All right, so what I'm using here is a 3-point fib projection tool. You basically grab your previous wave, a 1 or a 3. You take it and then you project it from the bottom of your next wave. And generally, you're looking for at least 100% projection. But 5th wave's probably 1618. So yeah, that's a decent target up here. 1618 projection at, what does that say? 1356? Yeah, 1400 Satoshis around there. And you'll notice I just kind of casually placed my 5 up there, without pulling that projection. That just kind of, I naturally placed it there. As you can see, because I kind of eyeball things and, I just go by how it looks. But there, you can certainly buy here. We're close enough to the bottom of a retracement wave. We do have volume coming in. We do have that MACD cross on the weekly. Again, we're looking at a weekly chart, so very long-term trade frame. This would be a multi-week hold if you're going to buy this market here. But yeah, right around 1350 Satoshis would be a conservative target for the top of wave 5.
Appreciate it, man.
Can you look at it on Bittrex though? There's a big difference price-wise.
Yeah, that chart looks completely different. Is there less trade history on Bittrex than the Poloniex one I just had. I mean, either way, this still looks like a beginnings of a 5-wave move here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe we're in a little A, B, C here for a pullback, but this does look decent for the start of a a bullish market. Kind of the same look of a 5-wave beginning. Whoops.
So the price difference really doesn't change anything, right?
Well, I'm wondering why, why is there such a big discrepancy between that Poloniex data and the one that we're looking at now? Can anybody tell me why?
It's been like this for a month, and the wallet is disabled on Bittrex, so I don't think people can move their funds out. So I don't know.
Well, just by looking at this one, you've got almost no activity in the previous months here, all the way from going back to June, compared to the recent activity now. Now the money's flowing into this market. Look at this volume compared to all these months back here. So it definitely looks like we have the beginnings of a bull market here with a completed 5-wave structure here on the daily chart. So what I would expect in this market would be, and I hate to use that word, I'm really not trying to expect anything from the market, but normally what I'd like to see for me to get interested in purchasing this market would be, a little standard ABC retrace, maybe something like this, maybe a couple more days, a little bit more of a defined A-B leg with a C wave down. If we do something like that, that means we're in a larger degree 1-2, and that is definitely something that I myself am interested in buying. Large degree 1-2 like that, because it means we're in a bull market. And we're going to go higher in a 3, 4, 5. You get the idea.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and pull
Verges yet?
retracement.
Have you done Verge already?
No, not yet. But let's look at Verge, because that one is a good one. I'm just going
That
to
was a
pull.
great call last night, guys. Really great call on Verge.
Okay, so I just pulled our wave 5 retracement. About a 618 retrace would be great. 786 is fine. Again, anything below 786, you're kind of in danger zone of this turning into a bearish market. So as long as we stay above our 786, danger zone for our C wave down, we should be just fine. And sometimes, sometimes B can go higher and fake a lot of people out. What you really want to see on this, if B extends above our 5 and it's made on really low volume, especially the volume compared to the top of our previous high here, that's something that I look for to be really skeptical about. Be very cautious if you're making new highs on lower volume, especially. But that lower volume will kind of show up as negative MACD divergence at the same time. But volume is really your main indicator, because when you have higher prices being made on less market activity, right, that's less consensus, that's less transactions happening. It's less consensus, right? It's less momentum going into those higher prices. So that could be a simple sign of just market exhaustion. And I've seen this many times where a B wave will kind of go over the previous high on lower volume, suck some people in, and just crush their hopes and dreams as a C wave down unfolds, because the pessimistic wave is just not quite filled out yet. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but I've seen it a lot, and it can happen. But I would generally look for a more completed ABC wave structure before I personally would be interested in buying this market. So I would just be a watcher for this one.
Cool.
Let's look at Verge. I think that was the one to look at next.
Could you look at Poe by any chance?
Yeah, we'll take a look at Poe. Okay, so Verge, I love this pattern. This is really good. To me, this is a completed 5-wave move on the daily. So we have a little 1-2 here. No, we'll call this whole move a 1-2. A 5-wave move up. We have our ABC down. Let's go ahead and pull the projection of the A and the C just to see what that looks like. Because a lot of the times on an ABC correction, you'll have an A equals C in the market for symmetry. And so to do that, what we're going to do, this is not a fib retracement tool. I'm going to use a fib extension, which is a 3-point tool. If I can just find it. Trend-based fib extension. Okay, that's a weird name for it, but that's it here. It's the trend-based fib extension. I'm going to grab the top of our our first A leg, project it from the B leg, and it looks like the bottom of our C is about a 618, so not quite 100%. It would have been all the way down here, but that would have been a really big retreat or oh, it's not snapped properly. Okay, so it's a 786, so close to a 786. Not quite there, but these markets are really bulled up. You're seeing higher lows on the C waves all over the place. But to me, this looks like a completed 5 up, 3 down with the ABC, and we're starting the next leg of the bullish market. How can I get rid of this?
So if you're not inside Verge, what is the right time to get in?
I can show you.
What are you trying to get rid of?
I'm trying to get rid of this projection that I did here.
So fib, just click on it once and hit the delete key.
There we go. Okay. Sorry guys if I'm a little clunky with this still. I'm still learning how to use TradingView. Okay, so this, I'll get rid of these older. So this would be our 1-2 pattern with our completed 5 up, 3 down in a primary 3. I mean, you could absolutely buy it right here. Looks like we're in a little 3. We might get a little 4 pullback and then another microwave higher to finish up the full 5 up of wave 3. So you could, I mean, you can buy it here. You can't go wrong. It may pull back a little bit on you if you do buy it here, but I personally would consider that just fine because this is going to go higher. We got our 1, 2, top of 3. It's going to pull back in another 4, and then another 5th wave higher. So these 1-2 patterns, when you get a completed 5 up, 3 down, especially on the daily chart with good volume, these 1-2 patterns are great. You know, we're close enough to the bottom of 2 where you can buy it here, maybe suffer a little bit through a micro 4-wave pullback, but you know, we're going to get the rest of primary 3, 4, 5, and you're just going to float down that lazy river. I'm all about floating down the lazy river. This is the daily chart. This would be a multi-day to multi-week hold for me. I do currently have some in this market.
Can you check ARN? Looks like a good uptrend, maybe.
Yes, I know this one because I do own some in this market as well. That's a beautiful 1-2. Should be entering in the 3rd wave right here. If we zoom in, well, let's just first dissect the rest of this market. We got a lot of activity coming, nice impulse wave. The 2 correction wave was made on declining and lower volume than the impulse wave. That's great. I would like to see a little bit more volume come into this market to really get it going. but so far it seems to be moving in the right direction. If we zoom in, we can probably find a three-wave ABC there. But I'd say this is a buy right here. It looks like it's starting its initial 1-2 off of the bottom of our 2 here. Let's take a look at maybe the hourly, see what that looks like. Got 5 waves down for our A leg. Let's call that our ABC. And then it looks like we have a small little 1-2, 1-2-3 on the micro scale to get started on our 3rd wave leg. So this first 5 up is going to be followed with another micro 3 down, and that's going to signal the jump start of our primary 3. Something like that. So yeah, I like this. I mean, you can absolutely buy it here. These are, for me, these are multi-day holds. I don't trade in the short term. I generally trade in the direction of the daily charts. I usually anchor all of my analysis on the daily charts and try and trade in that trend.
So one question in the Twitch chat is, can you talk more about the MACD and how do you apply it to this?
The MACD is more of a confirming indicator. You really don't need the MACD. As you've noticed, I don't even have it on the charts here. So let's bring it up and just take a look at some ways I would use the MACD, I guess.
Could you look at Ethereum?
Oh, I think you can just double click in the middle and it's already at the bottom. You just double click in the middle of the chart. This is a different login, sadly. Yeah, sorry about that. Just double click in the middle of the chart and it should bring up the bottom 2 indicators.
All right, someone wants to look at Ethereum. So I mean, for the MACD, I mean, there's nothing I can really show you here. I mean, the MACD is moving up, bull market. Our 1-2 pattern on increased volume and declining volume is more important. You know, the price, volume, then your indicators. That's the order of importance in terms of analyzing the markets.
I'm seeing a lot of TRX in the chat.
Yeah, I think people are stuck with a lot of Virgin TRX, so that would be a big choice.
All right, let's take a look at TRX. It looks just fine to me, everybody. I would hold positions. Do not panic out because this market looks like a classic bullish market, which is the markets I like. So you got a 1-2. Oops. Our little 1-2. Definite impulse here. 3-4. Looks like it could be done. This would be our little ABC. It looks like it's ready. I mean, don't hold me to it, but I see higher prices for this market.
Can you check out IOTA?
We don't want to shotgun them, guys. Let us get a stop process as well through the things.
No, I mean, I'm fine with shooting through charts. It helps me stay objective. It keeps me sharp. But I like Tron for higher prices. And again, if we get our completed 5 up on the daily, I would like to see an ABC retrace. And test of support. And then that means we're in a higher degree 1-2, which means even higher prices.
Hey, and when you get the time, can you check out ADA?
Yeah, what was before ADA?
Po.
Ethereum, I think.
Yeah, it was Ethereum.
I think someone said IOTA as well.
I thought it was Poe.
All right, guys.
But we're gonna get all of it out of you. Don't worry.
So just looking at the Ethereum BTC, this does look like it could be a completed 5 up. Very nice impulsive move. We could see some resistance here at previous highs. Generally, you will see that. This could be a big cup and handle formation. So I wouldn't be surprised in this market because it looks like we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Again, I don't try and get too detailed on the finer, analysis of the waves, as long as it looks like a good little impulsive move. And look at the volume coming into this market, guys, right? On our downtrend here, not a lot of volume. Now all of a sudden we're down at these lower levels, major market activity coming in. We even have some positive MACD divergence. So here, this is a great chart to showcase exactly how you would use MACD. So MACD, what it really means is momentum, and you just kind of keep it simple. So when you've got a downtrending market, like this is a downtrending market, it's going down. You've got lower highs, lower lows, right? Stair step of lower highs, lower lows. Here we go, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. And we get a little bit of a peak here, but still lower highs from even way back here. So it's still downtrending market. Now, look how the price down here made a lower low in the price chart, but MACD made it just a slightly higher high. I know it's not really there, but it's slightly there. So let's grab our trend line and look at that. So we grab the previous bottom of the MACD zone, and it's just ever so slightly higher. So just a little bit of positive divergence there. So you see you have the bottoming of this MACD zone on the line here, but where it scoops is just ever so slightly higher than the lows made back here. So that is a positive divergence, ever so slightly, although it may be. But what that kind of is signaling is that there is an exhaustion of selling momentum coming into this market as you make lower lows in price but higher lows in MACD. Generally, that's what, again, if anyone saw my trading plan earlier, if I'm trying to buy a downtrending market on the daily chart, I have to see those lower lows in price made on higher positive MACD divergence before I get interested. But you could have looked at this market, seen that divergence, and guess what? You've got a little nano 1-2 here, that you could have used to get long and keep your risk very minimal. If you get long right here in this zone or a little 1-2, you can take your stop loss right here, 80% of the 1, or even below the low, just for even more safety. But that could have gotten you aboard this reversal, which is now looking like a full 5 up. Looks like we're probably going to run into previous resistance here, build out a cup, and I would not be surprised if our handle is our 3-wave corrective. So let's just go ahead and build out the wave count after the traditional technical analysis that I just did. Does anyone have any questions so far?
No, but I do have a question on XLM.
All right, one chart at a time, guys. One chart at a time, please. Thank you.
I have a question specifically for this chart.
Okay.
So you were saying that even though there was a lower low where your zero is at right now,
correct,
MACD divergence was slightly higher. That blue line was slightly higher than it was, let's say, in November. Is that correct? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. So and I can find you a better example of this. This is not the best example, but it's actually, it's there. It's ever so slightly sloped up, and I can show you a reversal pattern in ZRX in a minute here, because it's got a better divergence that we can look at.
Okay, and the whole idea is that that's suggesting that the momentum's changing into a more of a oversold.
What it really says is there's less selling momentum at lower prices, right? So less sellers at a lower price means the sellers are kind of drying up. What's really happening in the auction process is when a market is moving down, the auction process is basically looking for buyers, right? And the same thing when the auction process is moving up, it's really looking for sellers, right? Because you've got bidders bidding up the price, trying to match sellers, and the actual market movement of that market going up is a market that's looking for sellers. And so combining that with the, when you really think about how the auction process, works, and the volume combines with that, just natural market process. When you've got less momentum going into lower prices or less momentum going into higher prices on the flip side, it's just saying that there's less momentum in there, and it could be, not always, but it could be a signal of, maybe some exhaustion, or maybe the market's ready to shift trends. But again, on a downtrend, I'm not interested in buying catching a falling knife. I want to look for evidence that selling exhaustion is meeting its end, and that the market is ready to shift its trend. So if we get our 3-wave corrective move here, if anyone likes the cup and handle pattern, that's exactly what that would be. And then I would expect higher prices here. For me, it's tough to buy this. Maybe you could buy a breakout here on good volume. I just, for me personally, I wouldn't buy this right now. I would wait for a defined retracement and get a better entry.
Awesome, thank you.
Just because we're on the subject of MACD and divergence, let's go ahead and jump over to ZRX and take a look at this reversal that revealed itself via the MACD. And the MACD doesn't seem to be working. Let's try the Poloniex data. Huh.
You might be able to just X out the MACD to the right of where it says MACD and then add it back in. It might reset, or you can potentially just go to format and go to like reset defaults on the MACD itself.
Yeah, so this one, the squeeze actually called this nice little 5-wave move here. We had a little 3-day squeeze here on a little 1-2, and sure enough, the squeeze fired long. Boom, boom, boom. So this is a good example of when the squeeze really does work out well. I've personally used the squeeze for many years. I know Mike likes to talk about the squeeze a lot. It can be very, very beneficial, but just my personal anecdote, in my experience with the squeeze, I never use it on anything lower than a daily chart, simply because you'll get a lot more false signals anything lower, and you'll even get false signals on the daily chart, like here it didn't do anything, here it didn't do anything. But really, where I think the squeeze really, really shines is the weekly chart, and let's just see if the weekly chart showed anything with this squeeze. So it looks like all the way down, this market was squeezing. Building that volatility pressure, that volatility compression. And so it's firing off a pretty massive weekly squeeze. But again, that's just another piece of evidence that we're in a bull market here. I already knew we were in a bull market by the 5-up pattern. But again, let's go back to the daily chart and look at that positive MACD divergence, because it does show up very well in this chart. Let's see if we can get the MACD to work this time. Okay, this is a glaring example of positive MACD divergence. I will just point this out so you guys can see it better. But you see we've got a downtrending market. The market's moving down, just general directions here. I like to paint my picture in broad strokes. I don't like to get too detailed. Hey, Mike, how do I make this thicker and just more noticeable?
Right click on it and go to format, and then there's a thickness slider.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we'll go with blue. I like blue. So we've got a downtrending market here. But look at what our MACD is telling us. If we just look at we're in the daily chart. If we just look at the MACD, well, look at that. We're uptrending, right? And we're making lower lows in the price chart, but higher lows on the MACD. The MACD is uptrending. And then what do we see? We see an increase in volume coming into the market. We've got our first little impulse of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've now got a completed 5-wave move up. You could have gotten long right here at the bottom of this 1, 2 with our stop below the start of wave 1 for a reversal. You want to give it a little bit more room just in case there's a little fake out. But this market, never even tempted it. So we can do a 3, 4 there. Top of 5 here. Got a completed 5-wave move now, bullish market. That's clearly an impulsive move. We got volume, we've got a 5-wave move. I can't buy it here. We would need to wait for a 3-wave retrace. Let's say that market's made its 5-wave move. We retrace to maybe about here. And that would be our entry on C. Would be amazing. I will keep track of this market and announce it when I strike in this market. Because
is there some correlation? Sorry, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So if the negative waves, like the one from 1 to 2 or the one from 3 to 4, if they are smaller, does that show that the next leg up is going to be a bigger move or something like that? Is there something of that sort?
I wouldn't get hung up on something like that. Just look for a general 5-wave move with just try and identify your impulsive waves, right? The impulsive waves, stick out like a sore thumb, right? Like this whole move, that is not pessimistic. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. So if it's lower this thing, that means that there is still interest in this and there's a lot of volume down below. So apparently the next leg is going to be higher, right?
Absolutely. Well, when you make a 5-wave move and then a 3-wave retrace, that just is basically your signal of you're in a larger degree 1, 2, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Elliott wave is fractal in nature, guys. No matter what time frame you're looking at, you're going to find these kind of same basic principles. But it gets harder as you zoom in, it gets harder. A lot of traders, they get lost in the forest for the trees. And I used to be that kind of guy. I used to be the guy that was buying at the top of a 5-wave move and selling at the bottom of a retrace and not understanding what the hell just happened, not understanding what the markets were showing me, what the markets were telling me. I was chasing highs and, panic selling on lows and just not, I've made every mistake in the book. I've seen it all, done it all. So again, a lot of traders get lost in the forest for the trees, going in way too micro and trying to nitpick over every little thing. Meanwhile, nowadays I avoid the forest entirely and I float down by the lazy river by sizing up the larger trend, finding a ideal risk reward entry, at the bottom of a 2 here if you're lucky, or wait for the 5-wave move and the 3-wave retrace and then buy right here at the bottom of the larger 1, 2. And then I get my scale targets. As soon as I get my first 100% scale out target, it becomes a free asset, and then I can just float down the river as long as it is and go wherever it takes me.
Okay, and one last question on this. What if we still keep getting in good buying volume on this and it still keeps moving up? Should we be worried about that, or we should still wait for the retracement for buying it?
Okay, yeah, the great question, because that's that can happen, right? Like, what if this is not the top of wave 5, right? What if wave 5 just does something like this, right? What if wave 5 just goes bananas? And it could. It absolutely could. The problem I have is I have no way of knowing how to play that. You could, buy a high volume breakout, and if it goes up there, well, great, all the power to you. Me personally, that's not something that I try and chase, because I have no idea how high it's going to go or how low it's going to go. When you buy right here expecting a breakout, if you think it's going to do that, well, what if it doesn't do that, right? What if this is the top of 5 and it does retrace and it crushes your dreams? I just don't have any way of buying right here because it's the top of what looks like a 5-wave move to me. And I don't know, I don't have a rule set that's good enough that tells me what to do, to manage my risk, right? Because I'm not, I'm not trying to predict the markets. I'm not trying to expect anything of the markets. That's that kind of mindsets that kind of can really hold you back as a trader. I try and just identify money flow dynamics, see what the market's doing. There's certain areas where I'll be interested in a market. But as far as, your question, what if wave 5 goes bonanzas, and it could, I just don't know how to trade that personally. To me, that's chasing a market, and that's putting a lot of risk in my own hands because I could be buying a top and I don't, I wouldn't even know it. So what I do know though, is I know markets won't go up forever. They just can't. It's not realistic. I like to be pretty realistic in my thinking and in my trading. So what I do know is I know how to buy a 3-wave retrace, and so that's what I wait for. I don't chase something that I feel like I'm going to miss out on something because I touched on this last night, but there are endless opportunities in the market to make money. There are also endless opportunities in the market to lose money. So I want everyone to kind of think about that, to kind of help put you in the cool hand Luke mindset where you almost want to become detached from your investments and just kind of be objective about it. Don't, the idea of trying to count Elliott waves is to really objectively identify the optimism and pessimism and really not to participate in it, because ultimately it's going to skew my own analysis if I start to participate within that optimism and pessimism, greed and fear mind complex. A lot of this game is psychological, and there are some books that I can recommend to help people get in that psychological mindset of what it takes to be successful in these markets.
I get that. I get that. I've been caught in the same thing that you just said. So yeah, I think the waiting part, you're spot on with it.
Awesome. I'm glad I could help. I know that was kind of a long and winded, detailed explanation, but I do speak from experience, guys. I've seen it all. I've done it all.
Hey trader, in this circumstance, and if this is the end of the 5th, would you you would look for the next buy at the A or C?
Correct. I would look for a detailed and defined ABC. We're going to get something of a 3-wave move. I just have to see what it looks like as it's building out. And, if you start getting positive divergence at the bottom of your 2 here, that's a good indication that the market's ready to shift and start your next up leg. So there's other things you can, zoom in to see, what the micro is looking like. But for me to get interested in buying this market now that we've missed the bottom, but we clearly have a trend reversal in play with a 5-wave move up, I would look for the ABC retrace. Then I would be interested in buying this market.
Okay, so you'd wait for the full 3 down and then the MACD showing a positive movement.
The MACD doesn't have to show a positive movement. Really, when we were talking about positive divergence for the MACD, that's in a currently downtrending market. When you're in an uptrending bullish market, the MACD isn't as important. What's more important is your wave structure, your pattern structure, and volume. Right? You want to see, this market correct on lower volume. If this, if we get a little retrace here, and then all of a sudden a lot of volume comes into this market, and it just does this, right? Or it goes below, this point here, it starts retracing more of our first wave. If it goes below 80% of our first wave, which would be right around here, below our 4, that to me means that does not look like a standard ABC. Something might be going on, and this was not an impulse. So I would have to get out of the way, or not even, you know, maybe I didn't even buy because it just completely sold off, and you know, it took, you know, went collapsed without me. But we really got to take it from one decision to the next, right? So at this point, I do think it's a completed 5-wave move. I will wait for the ABC 3-wave retrace, see how it looks. If it looks good, maybe I'll zoom in on the 1 hour and try and find a micro 5 up, 3 down. And then you can use that as your trigger to enter for your next wave higher.
It looks like a lot of people in chat are wondering what kind of books you'd recommend.
So there's a couple of books, 2 specifically on trader mindset, 2 specifically for Elliott wave analysis, and then one other one specifically for basic technical analysis 101. So I would say 5 in total. I've read over hundreds of books, but really there's only those 5 or so that I would recommend.
Can we post that in the learning tool section by any
Yeah,
chance?
I can make an Amazon list when I'm done here tonight.
Thank you so much.
So
Yeah,
really quick, I know we have a lot of other you know, tiny coins that people are asking to look at and things, but is there any chance we can look at Bitcoin?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's pull that up on the weekly chart. See what that looks like.
And this isn't just for me. A couple people were asking about Bitcoin too.
Yeah, thanks for managing the chat, because I'm not paying attention at all. I'm just trying to make this an educational moment and teach as much as I can in the short time that I have.
You know you're doing good when Mike's asking you to look at a chart.
All right, guys. This looks like a big old 1, 2, 3. That's the daily. So let's zoom out. Yeah, I mean we're still in a 3rd wave here. It looks like we're in a 4th wave of our primary 3rd. This looks very 4th wave action to me. 4th waves a lot of the times tend to get people really depressed, really morose. 4th waves can be just grueling sideways action. In the traditional markets, I've seen months and months of grueling wave 4. It's just not fun. Not fun. But this market is so bullish, wave 4 might already be over. I really can't tell you. It looks like this could be a B wave high here. But I would expect 1, 2, 3, 4. This, okay, so we've got a couple possibilities here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be a completed 5-wave move.
Yeah, I was just going to say that looks like a completed 5 though.
Yeah, let's just treat it as such and see what it looks like. The larger fib, this is a 1, 2. So we're in primary 3rd here, but let's dissect the primary 3rd. I don't need to point out the 3rd at this point here. So I have been noticing that the 5th waves tend to be the strongest in these markets. So let's go ahead and call this. We do have a lot of activity coming in on our 1, 2. So I think that's okay to call this our 1, 2, our 3, 4, and our mega bull wave 5. 1, 2. Yeah, okay. So this just looks like a subwave of our wave 5. So our 1, 2 here. Oh, sorry. Let me just try that again. So I believe we need another subwave higher to finish all of primary 3. I think this needs to go higher. As crazy as that sounds, that's kind of what it looks like. Or 5. If this is, you know, yeah, real toughy. But I do think this could go higher, actually, just for our primary wave 3. If not, the other option would be that this is already a completed full 5 up, and that we are in a corrective 3-wave retrace. And so I would expect C to maybe about there. Let's pull the projection and see what that actually looks like. But to do that, I'm going to grab the 3-point fib tool, take the top of our 5, take our maybe A wave. We don't know for sure. Maybe the top of B. 100% projection. See, there's not. Is that it? The 101? Yeah. Okay. So that's it. So yeah, right around where I lined it up would be 100% fib projection, right around $8,900, $8,800. Would not surprise me in this market if this indeed is the top of top of our 5, and we've got an ABC correction underway. Tough to say, really tough to say, to be honest. I could see this being either way, as we needing another final 5th higher, or we're working on a C wave low to 9,000 ish. I don't know, guys. You're gonna have to take it from one decision to the next. I'm not sure which way I'm leaning, to be honest. I mean, we can look at it more micro and see what it looks like.
On a macro scale, could this just be wave 1, and then we go down for the second one a bit, and then go up again?
I would call this a primary 3 on the macro scale. If we look on the monthly, a little more clear, right? We've got our 1-2 impulse, long grueling wave 2. As tiny as that is, that's still an impulse. I mean, went from $1 to what, $1,200 on that first move, guys. I mean, that's a hell of a market, dude. I mean, traditional markets aren't going from $0 to $200. Or $1,200. That's an impulse. So we're going to call that our 1-2. Oops, I grabbed the wrong tool. So I'm absolutely confident that that's a 1-2. So no matter what this market does, guys, it's ultimately headed for much higher prices. And we can, let's say, if the top of primary 3 is in, let's just project. Well, actually, I can't. I don't have the bottom of 4 yet. Okay, scratch that. Regardless of what the market does in the immediate term, and I mean immediate term by over the next couple weeks to a few months, this market is headed much higher over the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, because there's sudden interest in alts, so maybe people are, looking at this as a small leg down before the big high up.
It could be, I don't know, I don't try to predict anything. I try and watch the markets. I let the charts tell me what's happening. I watch the market. I'm patient, and I strike when those opportunistic times of risk and reward are there. And that's kind of how I like to look at things.
It makes perfect sense, though.
Were there any other charts that I missed? I know there were a couple I probably missed. Let's
Somebody
go through
said ADA.
Let's take a look at that.
Cardano.
ADA would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm stuck in ADA.
I just did my own attempt at ADA chart. Would love to see what you do with it.
Okay, I mean, it's a bull market, absolutely. It looks like we've got a completed 5. Let's go ahead and chart that out. Here's our 1-2 impulse, nice flag. A little 3-4, another flag on our 4 leg. We'll call that top of 5. Looks like somebody's got some fibs here already. Great. To me, this doesn't look like a completed 3-wave move yet. Let's zoom in a little closer, see what we can find. Let's go to 2 hours. Okay, this looks like a 5 down for our A leg, so that looks okay for an A leg. I would assume that we need a more defined B leg. So these fibs are already here. That's great. Let's say our B leg makes it, anywhere to the 618786 retracement zone. So it would look like this. So whoever drew this fib, thank you. Great work.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take the top of our 5-wave move. Oops, let me try that again. We'll call this our A leg down. We need the B leg is going to itself be a 3-wave move. So here's our 1, 2. Looks like we've got a 1, 2 already. Let's say a 3-wave up to the 618. Let's go. Yeah, that's 618, minimum 618. So that'll be a B leg. And then C would be somewhere maybe here. What we'll do to project that one. Now, the C down projection I'm about to do may not be accurate because I don't know where that B is yet. Once that B is in, you can, if anyone else wants to try this themselves, they can grab the 3-wave, the 3-point projection tool. Let's grab that over here. It is the trend-based fib extension. So we'll grab the top of our supposed wave 5 and grab our A leg move. We're just going to project it from my estimated B wave high for anyone that's going to want to chart this live if they're going to be up all night. So I know some of you might. Wait until you get a top and then it starts to sell off again, then project from the B wave high, and we're going to look for 100% projection. So I was a little bit lower here on my estimate, but about that zone would be an A equals C 3-wave retrace. And this would be a fantastic zone. Anywhere from this zone here below our A wave to this zone here would be a fantastic entry into this market for a completed 5 up, 3 down. Let's go back to our daily and draw the larger wave count once we get our more defined ABC correction.
So we can step out of ADA for some time, right?
If you do not own this one, I would personally wait for a more defined BC leg because I think it needs it. If you currently own it, I would just hold because this is going much, much higher. And I always get stuck with these charts, so sorry about that. But if we get our 5 up, 3 down, that's a larger degree 1, 2. And then we'd be entering into a new up leg, a new up wave.
So to find the ABCs, do you always use Fibonacci lines?
Yes. So the fib and the ABCs and the 5-wave moves are based on fib levels. I'm still getting used to how they're pulled and used here in TradingView. This is only my second night using TradingView, so I'm a little clunky with it still. You'll have to excuse me. All of my trading experiences on the Thinkorswim platform, which is a little bit different, but I'm slowly getting the hang of it here. But yes, so generally all the waves and everything are kind of plotted out on fib levels. Me personally, in my own trading, I don't really use fibs anymore as I just kind of eyeball everything right now.
So that would give us the prices. How about the time span between ABC?
Time doesn't really matter. You're just looking for structure, the structure of the market action. I'm actually personally having a difficult time with the time factor in these markets because they are so much different than I am that I'm used to in my experience. I was looking at BNB coin, Binance coin, looking at it at when it was $5, and I had just kind of put out an estimated projection of $30 per BNB coin in the next 12 months. Well, now because it's been so bullish, and if we actually look at BNB coin, I actually think it might be starting its next leg higher. I certainly didn't expect $30 in for 12 months, but it's probably going to happen in 12 days from now.
Can you tell us about your portfolio, like what you have, like what percentage do you swing and what percentage you hold?
So right now I'm actually fully deployed in altcoins. I've got 11 positions. My largest position is about 20% of my total portfolio. So never more than 20%. Even no matter how good the chart looks, you never bet the farm. but you know, 10% per, you know, position is okay with me. 20%, you know, it's a little bit more risky, but for me, I you know, I like the chart. But my two biggest positions right now are Ripple and then below that Binance coin.
Hasn't BNB completed its 5-wave?
It looks like it has, but you know what? When I look at this structure on the micro, this could just be like a 3-4, and this could extend in a higher fashion for the final fifth wave. Let's see. Let's pull the overall trend first, just so people can see what I'm seeing. Do I have to get off or anything, or is there somebody looking?
No, you're fine, man. You're fine.
All right. Well, let's just keep this going because it's you know, I think people are hopefully learning something.
Yes, learning. Thank you.
Yes, very much so.
Best education I've received in a long time.
Thank you very kindly.
My pleasure, guys. My pleasure. So we're definitely in a primary three here, no doubt about that. Whether or not this primary three has topped or not, I'm not sure, because yeah, I mean, it could have. This could be either B wave high or ABC down. I mean, that would be such a short wave 4 if all we really get is just this little, you know, 4 days of an ABC down, or 5 days or whatever. I'm not seeing, I don't know why I thought this could extend. Let me see if I can zoom in and see why. I know I did earlier, but I'm not seeing it now. I guess simply because of this volume spike. That must be the reason. Oh, we're zoomed in on the 1 hour here. I mean, this could already be completed ABC, as crazy as that sounds.
Well, it's also a crazy looking bull flag, right?
I mean, it is, right? I mean, you know, here's our A leg, here's our B, here's our C. We've got major volume coming into this market in what looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4 completed 5 micro up. I mean, honestly, that might have been it for our little ABC, and this market is, you know, about to go either extend its wave 5, or our primary 4 is already done, which would just be insane. But you never know with these markets, man. You just really don't know.
I found it interesting that we've had this massive volume spike with the new user registration closed as well. So who knows what happens when those floodgates open too, right?
It could be that. It could be them, you know, doing their quarterly buyback, right? I mean, we just closed out the end of a year, and I don't know how they do their accounting over there in China, but who knows?
Just a bit off topic, but a Beijing court has ruled that people are free to buy and sell Bitcoin.
Wow.
This is on CN Ledger's Twitter, so it seems legit.
Very cool, guys. I love this chart. I own this coin. I am in this for the lazy river. I'm just gonna let it take me where it goes, or go wherever it takes me.
So are you factoring in, I guess, that people need to hold Binance coin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only is the technical picture here in this market, but you've got the fundamental story too, right? You've got Binance.com, one of the fastest profitable unicorns in the history of the world, $2 billion valuation in 6 months. That's amazing. That's incredible. So you've got the chart, you've got the fundamental story. Even so, I still would not bet the farm. You just don't do it. It's just not prudent risk management to risk your entire portfolio on a single trade. You never want to be in that position, no matter how good the chart looks.
So let me ask you a question. How do you measure your entries and exits?
I look for an impulsive move to start the start of a bull market. Back here, this is a clearly impulsive move here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a very small 5 wave, or we can count this as our 1, 2, but I like this as our 1, 2 a little bit better. So let's go ahead and mark it on the chart. Just kind of going through my thought process of how I enter a market, guys. So this is what I look for, because it's impossible for me to know where the bottom is. It's unrealistic for me to expect to buy the bottom. It's just not a realistic mindset. So I wait for the chart to tell me what it's doing. So if we say this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know why that was a XYZ or whatever, but let's just say that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so I don't have to remark it. Good volume coming in. This one corrected in a very grueling wave too, right? I mean, this is, what is this? August, September, October. So in the mid-August,
China ban. Yeah, that's the China ban.
So mid-August, anyone that bought up here was suffering and morose and depressed. Or like, oh my God, this market sucks. This market sucks. Like, it's not going anywhere. But if you just looked at this market objectively, first of all, if you didn't price chase because you had fear of missing out, right? If you watch this market, just wait objectively. I mean, even this little 3-wave move down here, you could have said, oh, here's our ABC down. This is a fantastic place to buy because look, we're roughly 80% of our wave 1, right? Anything below 80%, guys, it's in danger zone. But look what happened to this market as it reached these zones. Boom, you got buyers coming in here. Look at these wicks. When the market comes down right here and zooms back up and closes higher, those are buyers right there. I mean, you can just see it in the volume and in the way the market moved. So even if we were premature in this market, and let's just say we were premature, and we bought down here because we said, oh, here's our ABC, right? We think that's our ABC, 3-wave move. Okay, great. Even that was a fantastic entry. Yeah, you had to hold it for a while, but you never were tested. You were never sweating this position. So I might have, had I seen this chart back here, let's just pretend we're looking at this chart here. We see our ABC, we see volume come in. Like, okay, let's say that's our C. We buy around this zone. Great, the market's going up. Oh, it's selling off. But now we've got some indication here because this looks like a 3-wave corrective move. The volume isn't that great, so it's not impulsive. So we're still. That's an ABC, and then we can say, okay, well, maybe this wasn't the bottom of C. Maybe this was longer drawn out. This is our A leg. This is now our B. We've got more information now. The market's still continuing. We're not panicking. We're staying objective about our investment. We've got a big, long flag here. We've got support at this line here. Even if we were faked out on the initial, what looked like the bottom of a 3-wave move, we still got a great entry here. We weren't really, we just had to wait this out, right? I try not to expect anything of the market because the market can take a lot longer than you would expect it to. So when I make an investment, I know where my risk levels are. I know where my levels are if I'm wrong, which would be down below here. And especially now that it's building out, a base here, you can actually even, tighten up that stop level a little bit. But you can see, here, it's, kind of that triangle flag formation here. So it's a very long one too. And, for traders that are impatient or don't know how to manage their emotions or are over positioned, right? When you have too large of a position, you're going to get emotional because the market's not doing what you expected it to and what you want it to do. And, look what happens when the market's ready to make its move. I mean, it just exploded out of this triangle in a furious, impulsive wave 3. So to answer your question, I like to look for a 1-2, impulsive move on a retrace. If you're new here, if you're just buying BNB, if you're looking at BNB and you want it, it's hard for me to suggest buying here because I would need to see maybe more of a defined 4, but it may be so bullish that we may not get it. So you could buy it here, but just be aware that you may have to suffer some heat, some pullback, because I don't know if it's going to pull back more or not. It could just continue shooting off. I don't know. In the long run, if you do buy it here and you do have to suffer through some heat, it's only going to be setting up for even higher, more bullish prices.
What about selling?
I'm sorry, what was that again?
What about selling? How do you take profit?
Are you saying XLM?
No. How do you take profits?
Oh, profit taking.
Okay. For me, I use a very simple rule because it's been working so far. Every time I get a 100% gain on a position, I reduce that position by 50% and take my initial risk, my initial investment, and get my money back. From there, if it doubles again to 300% gain, then I take another 50% of that position out and I double my investment. And now I'm left with 25% of my initial position, and I hold that forever, because some of these coins that we're looking at are making 5-wave moves against Bitcoin on the daily chart. Some of these altcoins out there may go 100x or something even stupider than that. Which ones will go 100x? I have no idea. Some of them may go into the toilet. But if I use that method, I can build out a portfolio of assets, a portfolio of lottery tickets, and maybe one or two of them goes bonkers and I hit the jackpot. But for me to hold for those 10, 20, 30, 40, possible 100 baggers, that's the only way that makes sense for me personally in terms of managing an exit and just trying to stay in that lazy river.
So if it goes up 50% and then it returns to your entry level and it pulls back more and you get a stop out, so you then take profit at 50% and now you're out of the position at a loss?
If I don't get 100% and it goes, so say the market takes off and maybe I get to like 90% and it doesn't quite make it to 100%. If it goes back down to my initial entry, then you reevaluate, right? You reevaluate what the market's doing. If if it goes up and then immediately, comes back down to your entry, you kind of got to take a look and see what's going on. If it still looks okay, because this has happened to me a couple times already, where I just barely didn't get my 100% profit and trigger my sell order that was in the market, and it's come back down to my entry. If it looks okay, then I'll just continue holding for the, if the trend looks like it's not breaking down and it looks fine, and looks like it's still in a bull market, and I will hold for that 100% gain, because I stay objective about it. I stay unemotional about it, and I try and stay objective as possible.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. You said 20% of your position is in Ripple. Could you show us that chart?
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we're in primary 3, not even done with primary 3 yet. This is a daily chart, so let's go ahead and zoom out to a weekly. Actually, the daily's fine, but this is a clear 1, 2. Nice little flag, starting of wave 3. Good volume coming to this market. It looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe our ABC with our higher B wave here. I think we've already bottomed in this market and are ready to go higher. But again, if we look at the weekly chart, I will just draw out the fib structure that I currently see. We got our 1, 2 here, 3, 4 for pullback, and fifth wave higher. Something like that.
Storage just went up 20% in the last 2 hours.
What did?
Storage.
Can you give me those symbols?
STORJ.
Storage Bitcoin, huh? Let's take a look. Weekly chart. Go down to the daily. Looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4 to me, guys. Possibly starting a 5th wave higher. This could be our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC. So we could count it that way too. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like.
So, a quick question from Twitch chat. Can you ask him if he increases his position on coins after he's free rolling at other good entry points?
That is a really good question. You absolutely can do that. I haven't done that yet, but I may consider doing that if I see some really nice larger degree 3-4s, right? Because that means I've missed the 1, 2, better entry point at even lower, and I missed the 1, 2, but I see a nice 3-4, but as far as adding, me personally, I'm not doing that right now. I don't see anything wrong with that as far as adding into your positions at a higher price in a bullish market, especially if you are scaling in your entries in 2 or 3 tranches, and you only fill 1 tranche and the market's taken off without you, and you see a nice little micro 5 up 3 down, a smaller degree 1, 2, and you want to add in another tranche a little bit higher. I don't see any problem with that. Me personally, right now, I have not done that yet in this market. I am simply so far just taking my 100% asset and getting my money back and looking for another opportunity, while letting that asset just float down the lazy river.
So the 100% thing, that means you don't trade too often then.
I don't. I didn't make a single trade today. I'm fully allocated. I'm waiting in the weeds to hit my targets or stop out of a position.
So how often would you make a trade? Like once a week or like once every 2 weeks?
It just depends on where those opportunities are. I'm constantly scouting the market, looking at charts, waiting for markets to come to me. Right now I'm fully allocated, so I'm kind of just waiting for some scale out targets to hit before I can reallocate somewhere else, or that kind of thing. I'm very slow. I've tried the whole day trading thing. I've tried the micro time frame trade. Me personally, it's not for me. If you guys out there that are doing it, if it's working for you, if you like it, great, more power to you. I'm not going to poo-poo on anybody's strategy. For me personally, lower time frame trading not only was very difficult, but it also stressed me out to the point where I would make bad decisions. And so for me personally, I do not do that anymore.
So won't you have like 50 positions eventually? Because if you're hanging on to, like, if you won't leave it until you said 300%.
Correct. Well, once I get my first 100% target, which is happening, so far I've gotten it every time. It becomes a free asset, and if I'm left at the end of the year with 50 assets that I built out for free, nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Sorry.
No, I mean that's how I look at it, right? I mean, I'm building a war chest of lotto tickets, right? If I can get my first scale out target on any trade I make, that becomes a free asset that gets locked away into my war chest. That becomes a lottery ticket, because what if it does go 10x, 20x, 30 bagger? The only realistic way for me to, because I'm not going to know which ones are going to do that, but I guarantee you there might be 1 or 2 or a couple here there that do that based on what I'm seeing in this market so far. So it's unrealistic for me to know which ones that will happen to. So the way for me to eliminate that that non-possibility is to make it a possibility for me. And to make it a possibility, I'm building out that war chest of free assets by taking my money back at 100% gain, and then from there taking another 50% at 300%, and then keeping that asset as a lottery ticket forever.
So we're getting a ton of more requests for a lot of different coins. One gentleman has been waiting for a while for SNT. If we could do that one, that'd be cool. He's
Absolutely.
been asking very nicely.
Yeah, sorry guys if I'm a little slow with the charts, but I really trying to make this some kind of a teaching moment. I'm not trying to give out trade advice. I want to teach you guys how to fish.
You're doing a great job, man.
So here, I mean, I guess you could call this previous corrective, but really what's going on, there's just not enough market activity. There's not enough consensus between buyers and sellers in this market previously. So we'll just call this a bear market. We're going to ignore this because we're looking for the future. We're looking towards the future, right? We're trying not to get bogged down in the past, although, there is important clues to be gained in previous structure, but I don't think this is a 1-2. Simply because we just don't have enough volume. The retrace went way too low, way lower than I would like. So I would call this a B wave. So our A, B, C. So I would not call this a 1-2 for those reasons. So we'll call this an A, B, C, and we'll start our bullish 5-wave move where the volume starts coming in, where market action comes in, where buyers and sellers are starting to make trades. So we'll call this a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got our A leg down. I would expect a little bit more of a defined B. The B wave itself is going to be a 3-wave ABC, so it's going to look like this. Say A, B, C for our B up. Let's get our corrections. So top of 5, our A, B, top of C, down here for our bottom of C. So because the B wave the B wave itself is going to be a 3-wave ABC. This move is going to be a 5, so a 5, 3, 5 to finish our ABC down, somewhere probably around this zone. Again, I can't really give you an accurate fib projection until we see our B wave high. Then you take the 3-point fib tool, take your A wave, project it from the top of B wave to get your 100% C wave projection. And then that becomes a completed 5 up, 3 down pattern, which is our 1, 2, and our larger degree wave count. And that's the type of market I buy. So I'm a buyer once I see, whoops, was an ABC, sorry about that. I'm a buyer in this market once I see a more defined ABC to give me confirmation of the larger degree 1, 2. So our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for our bull market, guys. So it looks good. Looks good for the start of a very good bullish trend. If you own it, great. Hold on to it. Make sure our C wave doesn't go below, anywhere lower than, what is that, 978. Let's just call it 1,000 Satoshis, guys. So anything lower than 1,000 Satoshis in this market spells immediate danger. Otherwise, I would hold.
This is just great.
So there you go. If we get our more defined ABC, here's your entry point around 2, stop point around 1,000 Satoshis. There's your trade, guys.
If the C were to go lower than the 3, but there's still volume, would you hold on a little bit to see what else happens?
So if the C wave goes down to top the test or retest the top of 3, you would definitely like to see some buying volume come in to let you know that market participants are recognizing that we are testing old resistance as new support. and that's right around 1,000 satoshis. So I wouldn't want to give this market much more room below 1,000 satoshis. I mean, sometimes when you've got an overreaction on your pessimistic wave, you can see the market, quickly dip down and immediately get bought back up. In traditional markets, that happens all the time. That's big boys just running stops and just kind of screwing with the small guy. But in this market, I haven't seen anything like that yet. Everything has been so far very structured, very orderly. You get our ABC. I mean, look right now. We're already getting our ABC pullback on declining volume. That's exactly what you want to see in your wave 2 pullback. I mean, this looks fantastic so far. This looks like a textbook 1-2 pattern that I love to buy. Just wait for the more defined ABC and then make your strike. If it doesn't give us a more defined ABC and this is already bottom, you'll see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 followed by a micro 3 down, especially with a breakout on volume above the top of our wave 5, and then it could just continue higher. So there's your possibilities there. Take it from one decision to the next, guys. Any other charts? I'm kind of winding down here. I'd like to take a break. I've tried to go through as many charts as possible. I know I haven't answered too many questions. It's been kind of slow, but that's how I like to teach the way I do my trading, low and slow. Make sure everyone kind of understands what I'm looking at, what we're looking at, and how I view things.
So I'm just scanning through here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about your initial stop loss, and you said you set it to when the wave 2 goes below 80%. So is that where you set your stop losses?
Okay, so yes. So say we get our defined ABC here, and I buy right here. Okay, so now what you do is you're going to take retracement, your fib retracement tool, grab all of your previous wave, right? So the bottom to high of your wave 1, right? So because I'm entering in a wave 2 pullback after a completed 5 up, 3 down. Okay, so 786 zone, right? 786 is a fib number. That's why it's used as the fib retracement. Now I just wrote 80% in my plan just because I give it a little bit more room below 786. But that 80% rule is that 786 fib retracement. So you'll want to pull your retracement of your entire wave 1. Anything below 786 spells danger, and you can see that 786 lines up with the top of wave 3 here. So for it to come down and test it would be just fine. But if it starts breaking down, especially if it starts breaking down on heavy volume, that's when you be like, okay, this market might be breaking down here. You might want to cut your losses because now all of a sudden maybe this was not a 1-2 and maybe this was somehow a B wave or whatever. Maybe this is not the beginning of a bull market. So that 80% rule really is just that 786 fib retrace. Again, I've pulled so many fibs in my 8 years of trading and learning technical analysis that I just eyeball it. And to me, that's good enough for these markets because it is working right now amazingly well.
So one of the hot topics as of late has been the newly added APBC. There's barely even a daily on it. I've seen so many requests when I've been on here with Twitch chat. How would you approach something like APBC?
Okay, wow. I don't know whose chart this is, but he's got the right idea. This does look like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to me. They're at the beginning of your wave 3, 1, 2. But with something so new, we're gonna have to zoom in a little bit. So let's go to the hourly and see if there's an initial 5 up, 3 down, up, and sure enough there is. And whoever charted it did a very good job. So we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, our little ABC down. And that was the start of the bullish move. But look, we've got an even smaller one. So for those of you who are quick, who like to zoom in, who like to catch something when it just gets listed, let's go to the 5 minute. I don't normally do this, but let's just go ahead and take a look and see what we're looking at the 5 minute. And it's a little. Is there any way I can save this person's work? It's hard to see, but let's see what I can. Let's see if I can zoom in close enough and
Yeah, see if you
it.
can just work with it. It is Junior Lancaster, by the way, and he puts a lot of effort into these things.
And maybe repost it in the TA. I don't know. It's not going to save it, but we'll have an image at least.
Well, I mean, I can see just this initial 1-2, right? So you see, so look at this market. I know it's really hard to see, guys. I do apologize. So this market's selling off. The volume's declining. It's kind of settling down. Look what happens. So we're on the 5 minute chart. We're very micro here. Look what happens. So we've got an increase in volume followed by a decline in volume. And look what that looks like. Five, I could probably zoom in on the micro on the 1 minute and probably find a 5-wave move in there. But that to me looks like a 1-2. You can buy this even, it did go a little bit probably below 80%, but not much. You could have, when you're buying it like this low on such a micro scale, you can move your stop to below 100% of your wave one, because you're might need to give it a little bit more room, because whenever you zoom in, you're going to get more fluctuations in price relative to the chart, right? When you zoom out, it's not going to happen so quickly, but when you're on a 5 minute chart, I mean, you could get massive fluctuations, relative to the chart, because it's just such a small time frame. But we do have a 1-2 here, long drawn out flag. What is that? A couple hours looks like. But yeah, you could have gotten long off this 1-2, and you really weren't tested, and it just took off, and you would be in profit. So that's kind of how. And it's we're on the 5 minutes, so it's a little. All right, there we go. So yeah, so there's a little 1-2 right around there on the 5 minute that you could have used to get long, and you really were never tested. And this. Oops, I think I just moved one of his fibs, but I concur with his analysis. This does look like a bull market to me. His counting is correct here. Here's our larger degree 1-2. Working in our third wave. You could absolutely buy here. We're close enough to the bottom of a 2. So you can buy here. It looks like his sub-wave counting is correct. Little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to finish 3, then primary 4 and primary 5. So yeah, you can buy this right here.
Before you go, can you look at IOTA?
Interesting chart. It looks just at first glance to me. Let's see if we can get rid of this MACD. All right. Again, I'm having trouble trying to decide what to do. Excuse me, when there's data like this. I think simply because there's just not that much market activity, not much market participation, not much consensus. I'm just going to generally ignore that stuff over there, because once you have more activity, more buying and selling taking place, you have more market consensus happening, and that's really what you want to pay attention to. Stuff with low liquidity, low volume, it's just not that easy to get a wave count on, so to speak. So as soon as we have some volume coming into this market, looks like we've got a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ABC could possibly be over with. Definitely looks like a larger degree bullish trend of some sort. Not the easiest to chart here, but if this is a 2, this is definitely a 2 that is pissing some people off and probably not liking it right now because it's taking so damn long. This could be a 4. 1, 2, if we count, if we remove this count, turn this into a 4. I like to try and look at all possibilities, guys, you know, because sometimes I could be wrong on my wave counts. Sometimes the charts just aren't as easy as some other ones. So we try and look at all angles, see what we can decipher. It could be a 4 with a 5th to come. I don't know. This one's a little sloppy, so it's a little tougher. But it does kind of look like a flag. We've got a little line of support here, maybe an ascending triangle. Look for either a breakout with some volume out of this triangle or a breakout of this channel here. If we draw a top trend line here, kind of a little channel. So it's kind of sideways channeling here, right? So it's really just the indecision in the market. This one is not as easy as some of the other charts that I'm looking at. So I don't know. This is a tough one. I wouldn't buy it here, me personally. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, so when you see stuff like this, it's just like, well, it looks pretty crappy. You just toss it out and go on to the next, right? Or
yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, this is a sloppy chart. This is a hard chart. Why make it harder on yourself? Look for an easier pattern. Look for a better entry. So sorry, I can't really give you much on this one, but this one's not easy.
All right, Mr. Trader Unknown. Don't know how much longer you want to go, or if you're good, or.
I mean, I could go longer. I mean, I definitely need a break right now. I think I've been going straight for an hour and a half. I hope
a break
people.
and let's come back to it.
Yeah, well, if anyone wants to get in right now, I'm going to take at least a 10-minute, maybe 15-minute break. But I'll be back, and maybe we can do some more charting.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Trader.
Thanks,
Very
Trader.
much.